went off birth control, got pregnant with my oldest son he was born in 2017, got pregnant like the month after I went off, no problems. That was my oldest son, so he's almost 5. So he'll be 5 in February. And he was 10 months old. I got pregnant with my second son, no problem. I carried him full term. He was actually 3 weeks late. My second son was about 10 months old. I got pregnant that July. And I got pregnant. I had just had my period. I had one period, and then the next month I was pregnant. So I remember we were on vacation. I had brought tests along and they were positive. However, by the time we got home, they were getting lighter. Well, it was like over the weekend. So I said, well, I'll call like Monday if it's still light. Monday came and I actually started bleeding that morning. So I called the doctor and they did blood work and it was a miscarriage. Like everybody goes through one at some point. I was, very upset, but I just always knew like the chances of having one miscarriage in my life, like I'm sure, I just always figured like I'd probably have to deal with that at some point. So, but I felt more hopeful because I thought like, oh, well, at least this is the one I have to go through. I just have to walk through this and then it'll be okay. Like I'll have a healthy pregnancy. Everything will be okay. It'll be okay. You just have to get through this one. So that was in July. And then October, I got pregnant again. And so as soon as I got a positive pregnancy, so that was July that I had my first miscarriage. And then October, I was pregnant again. So I called the doctor and I said, hey, should we run some blood work? Because last month my last pregnancy I had a miscarriage. And so they ran blood work and I was pregnant. My numbers were low. I remember the HCG was like a 35, I think. And did they check my progesterone? No, but it was low. But they called me and they said, oh yeah, you're pregnant. That's a low number, but it's not anything to worry about. Sometimes, it just depends, like maybe if your cycle was off or something like that. So they said, we'll run labs again in 2 days. So 2 days later, they ran labs. And I remember I handed the phone to my husband and I was like, I don't want to look, like, can you tell me what it says? And I saw his face and he was like, well, what are the numbers supposed to be? I said, what do you mean? Like, it should probably be around a 70 or, double. It was 35. So somewhere around there. And, he was like, it's a 29. And I knew, I was like, at that point, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I just had this other miscarriage and now I'm having another one. Like, what? Like, that was just so hard. That one was really hard. So, sorry, I thought I was gonna cry. So I went through that. I bled on my own. I didn't need surgery or anything. So, okay. Let me get it together. So that was October. And after that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to the doctor because this just doesn't feel right. Like, I had 2 children, no problem. And now I just had 2 miscarriages in a row. Like, it just didn't sit well with me. So I called the OB. I went in and she sat there and she's like, well, to be honest, we don't worry until you have 6 or 7 miscarriages. We don't do anything until then. And I got really sassy. I don't even remember what I said, but I know I got an attitude because to me that sounded ridiculous. Who wants to go through 6 or 7 miscarriages before a doctor does anything? So I left that appointment and she was like, you're free to call a fertility clinic if you don't agree with that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to. So now, I am very grateful for this too, because with my insurance, I called my insurance and I actually have great benefits with fertility help. So for that, I was so grateful. Like, so I called them, a bunch of tests, blood work, egg count. She said she didn't feel like they had to check my husband's business because I was getting pregnant. And that's what she said too. Like, that's the first step, is getting pregnant. So that's a good thing that you're getting pregnant. So it turned out all they could really find was that my progesterone was low. I did end up doing an IUI, some rounds of, I think it was letrozole, to help you ovulate. And none of that, I wasn't getting pregnant. And each month my progesterone was low. So on top of that, I would have to add in the suppositories, and then I would also have to do the progesterone injections. So at this point, they had just called me that morning and said, hey, we're gonna do one more round of the letrozole. We'll send it to your pharmacy. And this was right when COVID was hitting. Like, I think it was March. Yeah, it was March or April, I forget. So right after the doctor called me, or the nurse called me, the doctor called me back, and she said, hey, we're shutting down the clinic with COVID. All treatments are postponed indefinitely. We'll call you when we're ready to pick back up. So I said to her, I don't really, I'm not on birth control. I don't want to risk another miscarriage. Would you be willing to check my progesterone if I ovulate? Like, if I call when I ovulate, would you be willing to at least check my progesterone? And they did that for me. So actually, I ended up ovulating in like the normal window that month. And on my own, I kind of thought like maybe some of that, like the letrozole maybe kicked my body back into like a normal cycle, because my cycles were pretty out of whack and all over the place. So they checked my progesterone. It was low. I ended up getting pregnant on my own, and I just needed the progesterone injections. And I had a healthy pregnancy. My son was born last December. He's a perfect angel. We decided we want to try for a fourth. And in the meantime, I read a book. It's called It Starts with the Egg. And it's recommended for people like going through fertility treatments, or if you have a trouble with like fertility at all. So I read that book and I put into practice pretty much everything that it says. I sold all my makeup that had questionable ingredients. I switched to all clean makeup. I stopped using, if you read the book, you'll understand, but like so many things that is in everyday household items like can affect your fertility health. So I put that all into place. And actually with that, my cycles, I'm still breastfeeding my son, and my period came back when he was like 10 months old, and it's regular. So I do think that helped that. So anyway, so right around Christmas this year, I think it was December 13th, I got a positive pregnancy test. This is where I feel guilty, because we were trying and I didn't get back in touch with the fertility doctor, because I just thought like, well, that was a freak thing that happened. Like, I probably won't have any more miscarriages. Maybe I'll be able to get pregnant on my own. I read the book. I was just feeling helpful. And so the 13th, I got my pregnancy test. It was positive. And as soon as I looked at the numbers, I thought, that does not look good. It was, my HCG was a 34 and my progesterone was an 8.99. So I just got on Google and I was Googling everything, like maybe I ovulated late. That number's low, but like, maybe it's just because I ovulated late and everything's going to be okay. So then 2 days later, I saw that my levels dropped. And I was like in complete shock, because I don't know, I just was convinced that I wouldn't have to walk through that again. And what made it worse was I got back in touch with the fertility doctor, and they got me in for a consultation in like 2 days. So I just thought, like, if I would have done that before, then maybe I would still be carrying that baby. But I know you can't look back and think that. I mean, but how do you not, because I know some doctors say like progesterone doesn't even help. So that's that. And I said to the doctor though, like, if I would have taken progesterone if the OB, when they saw my progesterone was low and they did my first pregnancy test this time, do you think that would have saved it? And she said, you know, probably not. But, so that made me feel better, but whether that's the truth or not, I don't know. But she said, you know, sometimes having a baby, carrying a healthy pregnancy can kick your body back into normal, so that it wasn't crazy that I had thought that in the first place. So that did make me feel a little better. So that's where I am now. they just checked my progesterone because I ovulated like a week ago, and I just got the results a couple minutes ago, and I saw my progesterone was an 11. So I messaged him right away because I feel like, I don't know, sometimes you can't wait for doctors. But anyway, so I'm waiting for them to get the results and call me. So if I don't hear from them by tomorrow morning, well, I already actually sent them a message. Miscarriage I just had a couple weeks ago. I even asked I sent the doctor, I called him and I said, that's a really low progesterone number. Should I start something now? And the doctor never called me back. So then I sent a message through the portal and no one ever got me back. But then by then my levels had dropped. So if the doctor thinks I'm annoying, sorry. But, you know, you're paying them good money. So, yeah. So I messaged them. I said, hey, I just got my progesterone result. Just wondering what the next steps are. So, yeah. So that's my journey. That's where I am now. So I just want anyone out there who has gone through any type of loss. I mean, and I feel bad, even like, it's almost like in a sense too, you feel bad being so upset over it because, you know, people walk through losing pregnancies much later, and I can't even imagine that. So like, I feel guilty, like even being upset sometimes, but it's still upsetting because that's, you know, no one else experiences that excitement, like those emotions, like having that pregnancy inside of you. No one can experience that except for you. So, you know, I feel like we're all entitled to our emotions because they're valid. So that's why I wanted to make this video, in case anyone out there is going through anything similar to this. You are not alone, and we are in this together, and I'm here if you ever need to talk to anyone. Please message me, because it can be a lonely road, because, you know, people are like, oh, I'm sorry, and they can't feel, with any kind of loss in life, like no one can experience what you experience. So it sometimes can be lonely, but I just want to know that I'm here for you, and there's a lot of us going through this together, but there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. I've already experienced that, and it makes the journey worth it, 100% worth it, and I would keep doing it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.